Welcome to Dave Talks
I
Some
can
More,
barely hear
podcast at the intersection of humor and, Hey, I'm your host, Dave, and together we'll explore a riveting world of mundane topics with unparalleled indifference. So get ready for a riveting journey through,
whatever.
This is Dave Talks Some More.
Right on and far out. Welcome to another episode of Dave Talk Some More. Now that National Public Radio has been defunded, that leaves $1.67 billion available for community broadcasting.
And sweaty balls. Special.
Sweaty
family recipe.
Not all things considered.
Dave Talks Some More will consider some things. Like, what format do we need to take to get some of that money?
Yes.
Okay, is that real? Are they really going to defund it, or is that just going to be another injunction, a federal court injunction from, Topeka, Kansas district judge is going to tie up $1.67 billion for a year and a half.
That's
is
how
true.
much both of those cost?
$1.67 billion
for both
NPR and PBS federal funds. That's great, and we need just a sliver of that. Now that the money's been freed up, I think we need to be auditioning for that.
Yeah, I think absolutely.
But I think it's the whole idea of that the government is not going to write those checks is a pipe dream, because some federal district judge in some district you've never heard of is going to enter a nationwide injunction for another. That's the new thing, is nationwide injunction. So that we'll have people talking to you like this about the elections in some city in Guatemala.
Which, of course, opens up for forum shopping.
Well, yeah, that's the whole. It makes you wonder why everybody hasn't been doing it.
Yeah.
Just get in anytime a law gets passed or an executive order or whatever, just go find some crazy judge, get an injunction.
I have standing.
What's the problem?
I'm an American
I'm
in this state.
I'm an American. I'm offended by it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why didn't you do that? I was.
How was your weekend, Dave?
Finished up at long last, the painting that goes on forever, and I'm immediately started on the next one. So that's what I did this weekend. And we hosted a college graduation party for a relative's relative, and nobody you'd know, I don't imagine. And so that's fun. This is a fun time of year, the graduation, watching people move on with the next chapter of their lives.
Jace had his senior party?
No, that's in a couple of weeks.
Coming up.
Yeah. So
where are y'all doing that?
I'm not sure.
I'm getting him in trouble.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. No, I'm not sure, because I'm going to Alex's girlfriend is getting her PhD in chemistry from University of Tennessee. So I'm going up to Knoxville for that. And it's the same weekend that Bonnie's son is getting his high school graduation. And so we're kind of divide and conquer on that.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, I've always liked the graduation parties, the graduation ceremony, not so much. We need to start. This wasn't one of the topics that I had written down, but let me vent for a minute. We gotta completely reconsider the graduation ceremony and the idea of each person just gets their name called so that they can walk across the stage. It's, you've done it. You've been in the audience.
You're saying that we should not walk across the stage?
I'm saying a ceremony that basically is somebody reading a phone book for an hour and a half is a crappy ceremony, and we need to come up with something better. That isn't, let's just read people's names so that we can recognize them. I mean, you do things every day. They don't recognize you. You don't walk across the stage. You don't need an audience. I mean, you graduated. Congratulations. You know, we don't need to see you walk.
Tradition.
I get it. And it's a terrible tradition.
With the handshake.
Oh, do we really need that? No.
Well, you come from a family whose children all graduated high school and then went on to college. But some people, a large percentage of the population, high school graduation is it.
Yeah, but they have the college. It's the same ceremony all the time for any time you grad. I mean, my God, you can graduate from driving school, and they probably cross a little stage. And you know, when you get your truck driving academy license, you probably cross a little stage and shake somebody's hand, and you wear the stupid little mortarboard. It's a dumb ceremony.
Maybe our drivers in the state of Mississippi might be better if we have
if we had a better ceremony.
We had a better graduation ceremony.
You know,
here's your effing license.
I thought about you on I-55 as always. I saw the actual trifecta. It was actually the quadfecta.
Rankin County tag.
That's one.
Okay. Stick figures.
Swear to God, it's right here. Did you read my notes? Yeah. The stick figures.
How many of them were there?
Oh, a lot. So many stick figures.
Did they have other stickers?
Oh, on the Honda Pilot, not a lot, but that was because they invested all their money on all the stick figures, all the way down to the dogs and cats.
Gotcha. Okay.
And many of both.
Right.
Okay, so that's two of them. You got Rankin County, you got stick figures.
What else?
Honda Pilot.
Oh, a Honda Pilot.
It's got to be a Honda Pilot, and of course, the handicap thing hanging in the off the handicap rearview mirror.
Tag. I mean, the handicap just exacerbates every issue that you have.
It just says, "Watch out." That's what the handicap is for. It's not so that you can park in your special parking lot spot. It's so that you can just drive over all 4 lanes of traffic, and everybody's just got to get out of your way.
I think I sent the video in our group text. Did you see the interstate where the guy stops in the center lane? Just comes to a complete stop, and he's like, "Oh wait, I've got to get over 2 lanes from a standing position." While cars are whizzing by at 80 miles an hour.
When we're at the Rankin County graduation ceremony for the Truck Driving Academy, we will repeat the lesson on when you miss your exit, you missed it. Time keeps flowing forward. You can't go back in time, and you can't go backwards in the lane. You just got to go to the next exit, tough it out. Maybe if there's absolutely nobody, you can continue going forward until you can get over to the right on the shoulder and pull that little maneuver where you go backwards on the shoulder if you hadn't gone too far.
Right.
But if you're on the interstate, you've definitely gone to, don't pull that maneuver on the interstate. And you just got to make the next exit and, re-GPS it, which yours clearly doesn't work if you've had this problem in the first place, and just deal with it. Just suck it up. But instead, in this video, somebody says, "I've got a better idea. I'm going to come to a dead-ass stop."
I can guarantee you it had a handicap sticker on there.
Yes. Absolutely.
In whatever state that was, they had their version of Rankin County.
Yes. Oh.
By the way, before we get too far, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Cowboy Country Club.
Yes, yeah.
I am wearing a Cowboy Country Club golf shirt, which I believe you can purchase for $60 online. But you get a 15% discount if you use DTSM 15 when you order it online. So cowboycountryclub.com. Go get you a golf shirt. Yeah, we have the golf shirt. If you can't really see, it's got nothing but cowboy hats on there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Small little cowboy hats.
That's fine details.
Yes. Anyway, great selection. Go check them out. cowboycountryclub.com.
Well, to continue on with just random thoughts that I had during the week, and I make notes of. I think you were around when I told you the story about this walking path that I go on, and there's this old guy who
Yes.
Okay. Well,
and you have to stop and chat.
Yeah, my crippling social anxiety is such that I've completely reformatted my walking path that includes sometimes
I'm just talking. I'm just listening to you talk about
sad.
the fact that you've got crippling social anxiety and you host a podcast show.
Yeah, but not in front of anybody. Not in front of anybody. By the way, huge shout out to the Queen that also apparently has crippling social anxiety because walking down Old Canton Road, which has these gigantically wide sidewalks, hugely. I mean, you could park your car. The sidewalk is so wide. And she's got to be at least 60 yards away from me. She's coming towards me. I'm coming towards her.
Are we Old Canton Road where?
Yeah, Old Canton Road right behind the Kroger.
So we're talking about here in Madison County.
Yeah, we're talking 100 yards away from
here.
From
where
place
our studio
we are
is.
right now.
Yeah,
yes.
okay, sure.
So, I'm walking south. She's walking north. I'm on the right side of the sidewalk. She's on what is to her the right side of the sidewalk.
So you're following vehicle etiquette.
Yes.
In the USA.
But again, shout out to this Queen. As soon as her head looks up and she sees that I'm coming, she crosses 3 lanes on Old Canton Highway just so that she can be on the other side of the road when she passes me.
Do you know this woman? No, have you offended her in some way?
No, she's afraid she's going to have to say good morning or something like that. And I know
there has to be more to this story.
I know that this is social
she looks
anxiety.
at Dave and goes, "Is that a pedo over there?"
Because
what's going on here?
When I go to turn, I just happen to notice that now that she's passed me, she's crossing Old Canton Road back to the sidewalk that she was on.
Did she have a dog?
No, she just crossed, kept going, and then crossed back. And the only obstacle that she avoided, she did have sunglasses on.
The big ones?
The big wraparound blind sunglasses? No, she didn't have that.
I mean, maybe she'd recently had plastic surgery and didn't want anyone to see her.
Oh, come on. You think that's...
I mean, she is in Madison County.
Man, it was... Anyway, I was like, I so get it, and I'm proud of you that you are so... emphatic about I don't want to deal with
you're
any
giving her a
fools
shout out.
morning.
We don't know her name. You're giving her a shout out because
she
did what you were afraid to do.
But
wanted to do.
Yes, that's what it is. You get extra steps that way, so that's even a bonus. It's just zigzag around. So I'm like, I don't see anybody. I don't interact with anybody. Do I just nod my head?
Sarah will not place an order on the telephone to pick up food. She has to do it online because that way it ensures that she does not have to speak to a human being. So like a week ago, we ordered Sakurabana from the sushi restaurant in Jackson. And one of my favorite dishes is a shirashi. If you don't know what shirashi is, go look it up. Anyway, it's a bowl, rice, fish, and there's a couple of things that I always 86. The chicken egg, because I don't want the little cute figure bunny ears of chicken egg cooked up. I don't want that, and I really don't like the octopus. So I normally 86 that, and then I sub in fresh tuna, just more tuna. And so Sarah's like, well, I picked up our food, but I couldn't get your normal order for shirashi. And I was like, okay. She said, well, there's not a place to particularly do it online. And I go, well, just call them.
Oh,
she goes,
oh no.
Oh no.
What are you talking about?
Because they've changed the way they do it online. And so last night, 2 nights ago, we go to order sushi. And so what do? I don't order the shirashi.
Right.
So I had to go get some rolls, which were fine. I love them. But anyway, so if I'm going to get the shirashi that I want, I'm going to have to be the one to pick up the phone and make the call to get it the way that
it hurts.
Yes. Anyway, so Sarah and you are kindred spirits in terms of social anxiety.
There are at least 3 of us.
And this queen,
roaming
whoever
the
she
streets.
is.
Yeah. So on this walking path, I will sometimes go past Kroger. And again, just the random thoughts that I had. I'm going past Kroger and like right in front of the store, like I could have walked right in. And they've got all the plants out. Like everybody hadn't done their planting until May, a little bit late on that. They've got all the barbecue grills out because when you want to buy a barbecue grill, where but Kroger would you go to? And they've got a bunch of them, and they've all got these little bows that are tied on them because Mother's Day.
Sure.
And I thought,
what mom doesn't want?
What mom doesn't want a barbecue grill from Kroger for Mother's Day?
You've had some Mother's Day bombs, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think back to all the Mother's
What's the
Day
worst Mother's Day gift you've ever bought?
Let's go. Let's see. Baseball tickets, fishing lures, camo jacket that's 3 sizes too big. But I'm gonna go.
Just what every mother wants.
Every mother. Well, so but no better Mother's Day present than power tools. The power saw that I got my mother. It brought tears to her eyes because she knew exactly how I felt about her.
Well,
Dad was so proud.
I've gotten to where I just buy a plant. I mean, because what do you get your mom who needs? I mean, she has everything.
Absolutely not. Yeah, more clutter. No, she doesn't need more clutter.
Buy a plant.
The estate sale is going to be bad enough as it is. You don't need more, just stuff. Yeah, I get it. So, and then the other thought that I had walking around because I've got the Sirius XM app, and for some reason it thinks that I love 80s music, which has got to be the worst music ever on earth.
Yeah, see, I saw this in our show description. I just have to totally disagree with you.
Oh,
I have a playlist
of 80s.
Of 80s.
Songs.
I have
yeah,
80s,
sure.
a playlist of 80s, and a playlist of 90s.
Yeah, there's maybe 7 songs that were recorded in the 80s that are okay to listen to. None of them are great. But it just sucks, especially compared to the 60s and 70s. And I don't know why the algorithm thinks I'm just going to dig it. If it will just keep pushing it at me, that I'll start listening to it because it's never going to happen.
You're just so wrong.
You remember?
I mean, like I'm looking through,
Okay, give us your top 3.
Take your
time.
I've literally got.
Now take your time.
I've got hundreds of stuff in
Well,
here.
I don't want to hear 100 titles. Just look through it. Give me 3 that are just no doubt about it. Everybody's gonna love this. Don't play it. Just give me the show.
Yeah, well,
give me the song title.
You've got the Violent Femmes. You've got a number of songs for them.
The what?
Psychedelic Furs.
Jeez. Well, I remember
You've got
the
Dire
Psychedelic
Straits, Sultans of Swing.
Okay, I'll give you Sultan of
Walk
Swing.
of Money for Nothing. You've got some Jane's Addiction. Been Caught Stealing. That was a great 90s song. You've got, let's see, who else do I have? Some Squeeze. There were some great songs. The Smiths.
Give me the names of the songs.
Okay, well, you got.
This is it. You only get.
How Soon Is Now by the Smiths. Have you ever heard them?
No, I've heard of the Smiths.
You got. Take 20 different REM songs. You've got A Million Miles Away by the Plimsolls.
Oh, that's a terrible song.
No, it's not.
Okay,
No, it's
anyway,
not. You've got Bittersweet by the Hoodoo Gurus. You've got The Cure.
All right,
Why Can't I Be You?
You've got
The Cars.
Okay. Oh my God, the Cars, so bad. If you love synthesizers and just heavy whole notes.
No, that was just alternative music.
Okay, gotcha.
I didn't even get into all the other kind of like pop music.
Oh, even better, yeah.
I grew up on MTV.
Give me some Huey Lewis and the News. That'll be awesome.
Well, how about some big country?
Yeah, you get Sultans of Swing. That's it. That's you hit 1 out of 3. That's you remember all the record labels that were going bankrupt in the 80s because nobody wanted to buy their music and they couldn't find anybody who could write good songs. 60s and 70s, a million great bands.
You are aware
80s,
of MTV that started in the early 80s.
Yes, I saw it.
It totally changed music.
Yes, killed it.
No, it didn't kill it.
Yeah,
killed it. It killed it. Yeah, because it blew music up, and people were making millions and millions back then. Today, it would be billions.
Heavy synthesized. just awful songs. You know, the big hair and the shoulder pads and the
rayon. I'm guessing you didn't like
single
any
color suits.
You didn't like any of the Van Halen from the 80s.
No, God, no.
No,
Just terrible.
No Bon Jovi, Motley Crue.
None
of that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's it.
What did you listen to?
I did not. I listened to 70s music and waited for
you
waited.
were probably
and
a Jackson Brown.
No,
I
was not Jackson Brown.
I like Jackson Brown occasionally, but no. I mean, there's so much great music from the 70s, 60s.
Exactly.
But there's also wonderful music from the 80s.
I
love 80s music.
I was literally just waiting the entire decade, and it sucked because I'm in my 20s decade, and all this music sucks, and I should be driving around and going to clubs and having fun.
Journey, there was some great stuff from Journey.
God, no, just awful, absolutely awful. Okay.
Now I will give you this: there was one abomination that went from the 60s to the 80s, and the 80s destroyed them. One band. They changed their name in the process. There's a two.
Is it going to be Starship?
Yes, you got it.
Oh my God!
Jefferson,
yeah.
Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah, went to right.
Well, yes.
Oh, okay, well I get credit for that.
You do.
I think it was last week we were talking about some movies and watching Conclave, and I totally fell for it. I fell for the meme that said, "We have a new pope. We do not have a new pope." But I saw the photograph of the orange smoke, and I thought, that's a very orange smoke thing. What is that? We have a new pope. And then I saw the little 45 second, you know what I'm talking about?
The AI
clip of Trump being the pope, which apparently offended many people. I thought it was hilarious.
I thought it was hilarious. I know some people that actually truly, genuinely believe that Donald Trump is trying to become the pope.
I think he should.
Yes. And so they're like, he's going to destroy religion. And I'm like, it's a joke, right? I mean, they're like, no, he's serious. And I'm like, no, he's not. Well, he shouldn't joke about that. I mean, I'm like,
he
come on.
shouldn't joke about that.
I mean, come on. Let's lighten up a little bit.
I'm so tired of you shouldn't joke about that. I thought it was absolutely really genius. The other thing that I had complained.
He's not even Catholic. Don't forget that.
Is he not?
I don't know.
I mean, who knows?
He's Protestant, but not Catholic.
Well, would be how it works.
Yes.
Okay. I went through my old show notes. I had complained a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, about how frustrated I was talking about Trump and tariffs. And last week we really didn't do a whole lot about tariffs except to say, good idea, but the rollout sucked. That was pretty much the takeaway on that. And I was complaining about all of the articles that I'm seeing in the newscasts that I'm seeing. All they want to do is talk about how tariffs are going to screw things up in the U.S. and make things hard in the U.S., which is, okay, fair point. But nobody wanted to talk about how bad it's going to be in other countries and small businesses in other countries, which are far less capable of taking the pain than the U.S. is. And it felt like propaganda, because if all you're talking about is your soldiers that get killed, but you won't talk about, well, we're killing some of the enemy soldiers too. Not that we're having literal people die, but the idea of economic pain, it's cutting both ways and cutting deeply both ways. I say all that as my setup for Wall Street Journal is finally running articles about how bad the tariffs are hitting China, which is really bad. And
in terms of like their food,
so
they do buy a lot of crops from us.
Well, it for China as exports, and you're right, the food is a big problem. Starts with, I'll throw some numbers at you. 10 to 20 million, this is according to the Wall Street Journal, 10 to 20 million manufacturing jobs in China depend on exports to the United States. 10 to 20 million jobs. That's a lot. U.S. market makes up nearly 21.
They all get paid 1 cent an hour.
I guess so. They're going to have to cut that. U.S. market actually makes up nearly 21% of China's total sales overseas.
Really?
If you include how they will reroute their exports into another country, and then from the other country it comes to the U.S., so that technically it did not come straight from China, but 21% of their total sales that go overseas eventually find their way into U.S. markets. So that exports account for 30% of China's GDP, gross domestic product, whereas we're 3%. So losing China exports does not affect U.S. GDP at all. Exporting to China, in other words, is 3% of our output.
3% of our exports go to China,
right,
which represents 20% of their imports?
No. There's all I'm talking about right now is outflow from China out. 10 to 20 million manufacturing jobs are tied to manufacturing things to be shipped to the U.S.
Yeah, but right.
21% of their total sales overseas are destined for the U.S. So 13% of their gross domestic product is for things to go to the U.S.
I'm assuming we're one of the largest. I would think Russia would be
huge market. I don't know that Russia is a big market for China, because food Russia has, and I don't know that Russia's importing technology from China or cheap manufactured goods.
So Europe,
I would imagine Europe is probably EU is probably running second place. Excuse me. So, what is happening? And I thought this is really important if you want to follow this story, is that the state is the Chinese state is now propping up the Chinese stock market and institutional investors and kind of pumping money into the market to make up for all the money that's not coming from the United States.
The way our government did during COVID.
Yeah.
Which created all the inflation.
Yeah. All the air is going out of 20% of the balloon. The air has gone. And so they've got to reinflate the balloon. And remember, they're coming off of that real estate crisis. We did not have this is not our 2008, 2009 real estate crisis. China has a 2021, 22 real estate crisis where they have all these massive buildings that are just empty. They built them, and then they realized we have nobody to sell these to. Yeah, our middle class has no money, and they're actually starting to bulldoze just tower after tower after tower.
There's a great video out there from this a few years old that shows it's like 18 skyscrapers, all were demolished in one series of explosions.
Yeah,
have you seen that?
Right. Never occupied.
They were never occupied.
Yeah, never.
So let me ask you this, because I don't know the answer to this. So if 20% of their exports are sold to the United States, what percentage of our imports come from China? Do you know that?
Don't know that. It is probably huge, probably a huge number. And so that's why what was driving me nuts was I was seeing these articles about sometime in the summer, how do I put this? The supply chain, we the consumer will finally see the hole in the supply chain.
Well, you know what's interesting? So the woman who normally does news, I watch the NBC News in the morning, typically at night, but they're the lesser of the three evils, in my opinion. But they have this one woman who I just cannot stand. She hates Republicans, hates Trump. All she does is bitch about Trump and Republicans and how they're destroying the economy. But they had a different reporter Friday morning who essentially, or maybe it was Thursday morning, the little Asian reporter, Vicky Nguyen, I think is her name. Anyway, she went and said, all right, so if we want to buy all American, she was like going to go buy all products to cook an American meal.
Okay.
And so she, just simple American meals, like shrimp scampi. And so, she had to go to 4 stores to find any American shrimp. She had, the pasta. I mean, the spices. Milk is something that dairy, things that you typically get from the U.S. But so much of our fruit and dairy comes from outside of the United States of America.
That's hard to believe.
Not fruit and dairy. Fruit and vegetables. Yeah.
That's very.
Where do you think you get your pineapples from? Your coffee. Think about that. Where does your sugar come from? Where do your spices come from?
Plenty of sugar grown in the U.S. Plenty of pineapples grown in the U.S. Coffee, not so much. Spices, not so much.
Right. But what she was doing was going through and just looking at every ingredient you would need to make an all-American dish. Just, because the whole premise not the whole premise, one of the things that the current administration is saying is, we're going to really boost up American goods and companies and manufacturing.
Right.
The problem is that so much of what we use is not grown at all here. Think about how much coffee do we consume?
All of it.
Yes. And it comes from Central America, South America.
Right.
It comes from other parts of the world. It does not come from the United States of America. And so you're talking about eliminating something completely for your diet if you were going to say, I'm only taking American only, right? And so I thought it was a very well done piece. It was informative. That really kind of makes you stop and think just how dependent we are. And the truth is that our country, not just our country, really all of the countries around the world for the last 100 years have become a complete and global economy. Right? And so to make the United States of America, an island in and of itself,
but
you can't do that.
But nobody's trying to do that. Well, nobody's trying to do that.
Well, that's one of the motivating factors is to help create jobs in America by bringing stuff back.
But not to make the U.S. an island. If you said, all right, every country has to be thrown on its own resources and can only consume what it manufactures within the borders of that country, U.S. economy is diverse enough where we'd be doing a lot better than any other country that you care to name. Canada, how much coffee do they grow in Canada? Not a whole lot. How much sugar do they grow in Canada? Not much.
But the only thing they grow up in Canada
is ice.
Trees.
Yeah. They'd just be eating maple syrup on mousse, which probably is pretty good, come to think of it.
Yeah.
I don't
know about that.
You go country by country, and if you want to play you can only eat you can only consume and buy the things that are grown in this country. It would suck for everybody, but it'd suck a lot less for the U.S. than it would for just about anybody else. But nobody's playing that game.
I hadn't really even thought about it, but to a certain extent, it's almost kind of like, not kind of like in the sense of how it started, but look at what happened when OPEC decided to screw the world on gas prices in the 70s.
Right.
The ripple effect from that was tremendous. And it really punished the American economy significantly. And you're just talking about that. You're just talking about one singular product. Now, granted, it was
It was energy.
It's a huge.
Turns out to be pretty important.
A very, a hugely consumed product, but still, nevertheless, it really crippled the United States during that time. Not to mention the rest of the world, but certainly here in the United States. And so now you've got, if China stops sending in all of the chips that we use, where are all these chips? All your vehicles? Look at what happened during COVID. It destroyed the American auto manufacturer because all of their chips and guts came from China. China. So, I think that a lot of the businessmen have been trying to, behind the scenes, persuade Trump to back off, and I think he has to a certain extent. But, this temporary hold on all these tariffs, that the clock on that is running.
It was nice to read some articles, and I found a few more after that, where they start saying, well, but the pressure's not just on the U.S., the pressure's on somebody else to find their way out of the tariff trap. And I don't know that the messaging has been really good about what the U.S. is trying to accomplish. We're not trying to put tariffs on people. That's not the point. We're not trying, and we're certainly not trying to become a self-sufficient, all we do is consume our own goods. That's not the point. And so putting together a news show that says, oh, you know how hard it'd be to cook the all-American breakfast with just U.S. That's not the idea, though. That's deceiving
what is
people.
The main point?
The main point is to pull the tariff. Take the tariffs off of me, and I'll take them off of you. But you're the EU. You're China. You're Japan, and you have these brutal tariffs. You're India. You have these brutal tariffs on us, and we don't tariff you the way you tariff me. And we try to negotiate with you and talk to you about it, and it's like talking to a wall. So you know what? Fine, Sean. Fine, EU. Fine, China. We'll tariff the hell out of you.
And I don't have a problem with that.
See how you like it. And if you'll take yours off, we'll take ours off. And he said that, but not nearly enough. And should every conversation should begin with and end with, we don't want the tariffs. You take yours off, we'll take ours off, and we'll be good.
This is the one thing that I I have an MBA and I studied all this kind of stuff, and I understand it all. But one of the things that I've never really understood in terms of the motivation of these foreign economies is why do they want to restrict our goods to come into their country?
You kidding me? Protectionism. Because like in France, they will not import U.S. agriculture. They just won't do it. Now, they won't say we refuse to import U.S. agriculture. What they'll say is, well, we're worried about your cattle because you give them a certain vaccine, and we don't want cattle that have that. You grow your crops, and those seeds are genetically modified, and we're not sure that that's safe. And so they put these little regulations onto each thing that they don't want to import. Why? Because the French farmer does not want to compete with the American farmer. And the other thing that they do is they subsidize their farmers. Same way in Great Britain.
We subsidize our farmers.
Exactly. And so you don't have a fair playing field either way. The American farmer and the French farmer and the British farmer, nobody is growing crops and selling it in the other guy's country on a completely level playing field. It's the government helped me, so I had to get the government, or you had to get the government to help you. And then we have these rules that are really disguised tariffs, and then we have the actual tariffs, and then are the import restrictions where we're only going to import so many million cubic tons of whatever. And if the idea is, hey, let's just compete and let the best man win, as they did in steel in the 70s. You remember that whole fight about China just started dumping cheap steel into the U.S. to destroy the U.S. steel market, which worked.
It did work.
And so the idea is we will take over. Any country that cares about its own economy would love to corner the market by just destroying the industry in another country that competes with it. You can do it with steel. You can do it with, pick your thing. Computer technology in Japan. Pick it with cars. How far advanced is Japan from the oil crisis when nobody was buying a Japanese car? Nobody in the U.S. And who would have thought in 1971, before OPEC started raising prices in 72, who would have thought in 71 that the U.S. car market now would be absolutely dominated by Japanese car makers? Well, how did that happen? But protectionism. Good luck selling a U.S. vehicle in Japan. You'll never see it. You've been to Europe. How many U.S. vehicles did you see in Europe? Not a lot. Why? Protectionism.
Well, but Ford has gone over there and they have their plants and they make their own European cars.
And bought Jaguar of all brands. Because when I think of Jaguar, I think of a Ford F-150.
But, I mean, look at all of the manufacturers that have come here to make the cars here. Mm. I mean, so we've done some things right, in my opinion, over the years, certainly. And but, I mean, I get your point, and I think it's a fair point using the farmers as an example. The bottom line is that, though, we do have to do something to make sure that we aren't just a nation of consumers. I mean, we have to have some ability to produce within. I mean, don't you agree?
Yeah, it would be nice to not be just completely dependent on our biggest trade rival on the globe for critical industry. That would be kind of nice.
I mean, I think COVID, honestly, I think it really exacerbated the problem that we have with all of this, because it wasn't just computer chips. I mean, I think some crazy number, I may be wrong, but it was like 95% of all PPE was manufactured outside of the U.S. And it was like, well, who the hell is going to do that? And that's why we had, all of those antiquated laws, wartime laws, that we were like, okay, you now have to make, this mask because we don't have anybody to make the mask.
And then you had grandma's knitting masks, which I thought you might as well, because
not that I'm supporting the mask. I'm just saying.
That's about how useful a mask is. Right, so what the hell,
Yes.
The other thing that I thought was, it was something, is that you will remember how unpopular Justin Trudeau was in Canada, to the point that he had to resign. And then this whole tariff thing blew up, and the Canadians just became infuriated with the U.S. In general, and with Trump specifically. The Canadian Liberal Party was polling at like 23%, which is really low. And then this tariff thing comes along, and when it's time to replace Trudeau, they have nationwide elections, and his handpicked successor goes in solely over tariffs, and I'm going to fight Trump, and I'm going to show the U.S. that we're not going to kowtow to them. The tariffs have continued the Liberal Party in Canada for another decade.
Probably. Speaking of poll numbers, I saw this video last night when I was trying to go to sleep, and it was so damn funny. I wish I had sent it in so we could play it on the live stream. But it was Chuck Schumer was talking about how terrible Trump's polling numbers were for the first 100 days. Have you seen this?
No.
So some reporter said, well, what do you have to say about your poll numbers that are at 17%? I'm not shitting about
right.
And of course his immediate response was, I kid you not. He goes, poll numbers come and go, and starts just totally excusing the fact that his poll numbers are at like 17%. And it was pretty funny. He just got egg on his face. I'm sure he walked out of there and his staffers were like, "Oh, you stepped off into that one, didn't you?"
Yeah, I mean the last thing that party wants to be talking about right now is poll numbers because they have not found their way out yet. And we talked, I guess in January, about they've still not figured out why they lost the election. I don't watch Bill Maher, but I saw a few clips of him saying if this party is going to demand a purity test, and you can't be woke, you've got to be double woke. You've got to be more woke than anybody to pass our purity test. And the party is just driving itself into a narrower and narrower and narrower wedge where only the ultra pure woke are good enough for national politics in this party. Not genius.
No, I mean, are you talking about the clip where he was going off about the dating show?
Right.
Where the girl, it wasn't that you didn't support Black Lives Matter. It was that you didn't support them enthusiastically.
So I'm breaking up with you.
So I'm breaking up with you.
Right.
I mean,
which was a phony show.
I mean, right. But I don't know if it was the same one, but I saw a similar kind of deal a couple months ago. So maybe it was the same thing, but some funny stuff nevertheless.
We talked a little bit about the housing crisis in China. This is the other article, and this is, I hope, the last political thing we'll talk about today. But this shocked me because you remember when we had the 2008-2009 financial crisis, a big part of the problem was that the government was just guaranteeing every mortgage that was underwritten, which meant why bother to check credit scores or somebody's ability to repay the loan if you are just a regular banker or an investment banker. Your job is to just originate the hell out of every loan that you possibly can, bundle it up into a mortgage-backed security, sell it off, and people will buy it because it's guaranteed by the government, no matter how crappy it is. And so that just pushed a lot of money into the market that didn't belong in the market and created a bubble, and eventually all bubbles pop, and of course that one did. And so, when it was time to reform the system, whatever that means, Fannie and Freddie were obviously big targets, I guess is the word. So I was shocked to see that at the time of right before the 2008 financial crisis, Fannie and Freddie were guaranteeing 45% of all new mortgages. Guess what the number is now? It was 45% before the housing crisis. Guess what it is now?
Higher or lower?
60%.
Shut the front door.
That's not the end of it. That's just Fannie and Freddie.
Yeah, but are they junk?
What do you think? Let me give you this other number. Fannie and Freddie now back more than 60% of all new mortgages. When you add the Federal Housing Administration and Veteran Affairs loans, the government is guaranteeing out of all mortgages written in today's mortgage market. Would you like to guess what percentage? How many mortgages are guaranteed by the government?
I don't know.
85%.
I was going to say 80, but yeah, wow.
85%. So we've learned nothing. And the underwriting standards are supposedly more strict.
Well, I was going to say, what about underwriting?
To answer your question.
And rates are different. It's not just free money.
No, it's a little harder for the bubble to inflate, but if it's all guaranteed, if it's all federal money, you're putting the incentives to reinflate the same bubble all the way back. It'll just reinflate a little slower, but there's once, just as what happened in 2007, I guess, once they ran out of people with the great credit scores, they started writing mortgages for people that didn't have such great credit scores, all the way down to people who had no credit at all.
Supposedly that's what they're not doing now.
Supposedly. Now, do you believe that?
I mean, I haven't been able to sell my house because people aren't, making
people
offers.
Can't qualify. Well, of course, the problem there is the interest rates, and once the mortgage rates fall, watch the economy take off, 5 times what it is now. That if that happens, and if the tax cut goes through, which I don't know the current status of that.
I don't either.
If both of those things happen this year, and if they can get some kind of resolution on the tariffs, the economy is just going to take off like a rocket ship.
Hopefully. I mean, the tariff issue really does need to be resolved. I mean, it's put a chokehold around everything, and I'm optimistic that it will. It's just, can it happen quick enough? Not really. I mean, do I think it's necessary? I think some of it is 100% necessary. And I think it was Kristen Welker on NBC, or maybe it was someone else, but I think it was her, was talking to Trump over the weekend, or within the last week, in an interview, and was like, I know that you want a legacy of, basically uniting and bringing forward. And of course, I saw some Republican pundits like, Trump doesn't want to unite anything. But, her point was, if you can bring this economy around, essentially you'll have an opportunity to prove everyone wrong.
It's absolutely true.
And of course, I mean, Trump's ego is he does want that, right? He wants to prove all these sumbitches wrong. And so, I at least am, I guess, optimistic that his ego will take effect at some point, and he'll want to turn things around. But, I don't get too worried about all of the things with the economy in general, primarily because I understand, I can see, I'm not obscured by the trees, right? I mean,
right.
I can see the forest. And what is that? Well, in the history of our economy, there's an ebb and flow. I mean, it expands, it contracts. And I mean, you were just talking about the very things that happen.
Right.
I mean, at some point, interest rates are going to go down. And what's going to happen? Well, the economy is going to take off.
Right.
Well, then all of a sudden, at some point, you know what? You're going to have this inflation. You're going to have to slow the country down, which is what happened during Biden.
Right.
And, of course, so you start raising these interest rates, constricting the economy, and then so now you're going backwards. And so there's always been this ebb and flow. Now, some of this has been man-made, and the stock market crash of 29, 08, whatever. I mean, you go pick your event. And, yes, but by and large, I think most economists will tell you that, I mean, we can tinker with it and we can make some adjustments.
Not a whole lot we can do.
But, I mean, it's an animal in and of itself that's going to have an ebb and a flow. It's a living organism, if you will, that we can't just kill or
try as we might
or grow. I mean,
right.
We love to believe that we can control, and maybe we do have some controls, but in general, we're going to be fine.
On a completely different topic, I promise to get away from politics. One of us has an anniversary coming up. And so I thought, in the spirit of that, maybe we could close with some good marriage advice, some ideas about how to keep a marriage going. I wrote a few down. I'm sure you've got some marital history behind you.
I have some good and some bad.
Well,
you have some good and bad.
Well,
the truth of the matter is that even if you're married to the same person for however many years, you're going to have good and bad marriage advice, right?
Right. Well, and
some
so,
do's and don'ts.
Yeah, some do's and don'ts. So do's and don'ts for the ladies, because they're the ones that probably need more advice than we do. We don't want to hear about the boyfriends ever. We never want to hear about the guy that you dated, the guy you were in love with, the guy that blew your. No, we never want to hear that. That's number one. All right. Well, then maybe. All right.
I mean, I just don't get
advice for guys. I'll give you advice for guys. Maybe
well, hold on. Let's go back to this. When you start, go back to some point in your life when you just start dating some woman. Okay. And you go out on your first date, you hit it off, you've got all this chemistry, you can't wait to call her, you can't wait to go out. Then the next thing you know, it's been 3 months and y'all are spending every waking moment with each other. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay. And so what happens? Well, she could have been with 15 guys before you went on that first date, and you don't give a shit. You are all into her, and she's all into you.
Oh, is that true?
Yes.
That's true for you.
It's almost like you give her carte blanche, and vice versa. I mean, there's this window of all things in the past are forgiven because now y'all are 100% into each other, right? I mean, y'all are spending every waking moment with each other. It's only until that begins. You're missing
my point. You're missing the entire point of this.
When it begins to wane, that's when you begin to go back and kind of care.
Look,
right?
No, it's the point that I'm trying to make is, of course, I understand that you had other boyfriends or
but
another
she's
husband.
Chosen you.
I get all that, and I'm not talking about my marriage or the person I'm married to.
I know.
Lord, let me be clear about that.
Yes,
but I'm just saying in general for all people, married or not, who are pursuing a romance. Yes, you do understand that person was in relationships before, but you don't want to hear.
I would agree
about
with that generally.
Okay, that's
yes,
the point
I
I'm
would
making.
agree with that generally.
You don't want to hear about it and how he broke your heart and how
you definitely don't want to hear that.
Oh my God, you don't
100% don't want to hear that.
You don't want to hear those stories.
No,
you don't want to hear about that crazy little thing that he did that drove you. I don't want to hear all that. Don't tell me about that.
Dirty here now.
Yeah. You want to hear all
that. This kind of fellatio was a little bit better with him.
Oh my God. Don't tell me. You need the feeling like I'm
the aura of I'm the best.
I'm the first. I'm the best. Yes.
Okay. I give you that. Yes.
Wow, that's a show killer right there. Number 2, 3, and this is for the guys, 3 little words you can never say enough. That's woman's work. Women like
I was over here thinking I love you. Women, and then you go, that's woman's work.
Women like it when the tasks are completely segregated, and that's your job and this is my job, and I always do my job and you'd always do your job. And when they try to talk you into, like washing you just say the 3 little words, and that will lead to a happier outcome.
The 3 little words.
The 3 little words. That's woman's work. Okay, another one. When women are upset,
like
the emails already.
This is like the inverse of good advice. Right. This is like the worst advice to give someone.
Here's another one.
You know what women want? I'll tell you what women want. Women want men to do shit, okay, without them asking them to do it. Like, right? A woman doesn't want to have to say, go take the fucking garbage out. They want you just to go do it.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to tell you, pick your clothes up. They don't want to have to tell you to go wash clothes or do whatever. They just want you to go do it.
But they don't want you to think it's a burden.
Right.
They want you to want to do these things.
100%.
Yeah. So here it is.
So the good advice is to just go do it.
Oh, yeah, right. Here it is. The guy goes out and takes out the garbage and mows the yard and picks up the clipping, but it was too much of a burden for her to say, go mow the yard. That's what the fight. I had to tell you to go take out oh my God, what a burden that I had to tell you. I just did the whole thing.
I have to go back to what Danny said.
Come on.
You just need to do it, and you need to act like you love it, even if you don't love it. And then the most important thing is you don't go say, look at what I just did. You cannot
Of
go do
course
that.
you do. You have to do that, or else they won't notice. They won't notice. All right, here's another. I'm going to just keep going on this.
Dave, we got some big red stop signs we got to put up here. I mean, these are things like you should not say.
When women are upset.
This is like Wacky Sunday instead of Wacky Wednesday.
Okay, here's another. When women are upset, this is just so obvious. I don't know why men don't understand. When women are upset, just tell them to calm down. If you will just say, calm down, or if that doesn't work and they don't calm down,
that is never going to work.
I think you're being a little bit emotional. Tell them to calm down and then tell them that maybe they're being a little emotional. That typically does the job. I know
it does the job to end the marriage.
Well, what I've found out is all of a sudden they will stop.
You're going to come home, your bags are going to be on the street.
What happens is all of the being upset, that stops, and you'll get like 2 or 3 days vacation from any kind of women being upset at all. It's just like
you'll be all alone.
You'll be all alone. They won't vent to you. You're fine. Calm down. I think you're being a little emotional. All right.
This is some wonderful advice. We need to have a top 10 list for the worst advice ever for the man on how to treat and talk to the woman.
All right. Next. You can't say I told you so enough because they forget. They forget that I already told, like 2 weeks ago, they're not going to pay.
On behalf of the podcast, Bonnie, I am so sorry. I really am. I am so sorry.
You tell them 2 weeks ago, you're not going to get the promotion. I'm telling you, you're not going to get the promotion. You're not going to do it. Well, why do you think I'm not going to do it? I mean, look at you and look at the person that you're up against. There's no way that that's going to happen.
Jesus Christ.
And then when they don't get the promotion, the first thing you say is, I told you so.
In high school, when Dave was dating a girl and
I didn't date in high school.
Her birthday was coming up, Dave would be like, I'm going to break up with her so I don't have to buy her a gift. We'll get past the birthday. Then I'll apologize and get back together. And I will have saved the birthday gift.
Yeah, you saved the birthday gift.
You can fill in, of course, Valentine's Day in that same equation. Yeah, it's a formula that works,
Well,
Dave.
especially like in high school, they do that thing like, do you know what today is? Why do women do that? Do you know what today is?
Our 3-month anniversary.
Did you
from the first time that you called?
Yeah, exactly.
Or not in today's world. First time you texted.
Do you remember what I was wearing the first time that we went to the movies together? I mean, why do we get the quizzes? Don't stop with the quizzes.
Well, the one true thing here that we're talking about is the difference between men and women about their memory is women are like elephants. They remember everything.
Yeah.
Men, it's like in one ear, out the other. I can't remember what you told me 5 minutes ago unless it was the stats to the 1968 World Series.
No, women, and this is true of all women. This is true of all women.
We've lost every
we've
woman
lost,
listener.
Yeah. No, this is true of all women.
Where is Dabs today when we need someone to really support the woman's viewpoint?
Dabs will tell you they collect grievances like old ladies collect Hummels.
What?
They collect grievances.
Collect what?
Hummels.
Hummels?
You remember Hummels?
What the hell is a Hummel?
You don't remember those stupid little German-looking little figurines, and it'd be a little boy and a little girl, and he's giving her a flower, or a little hut, or a cute little dog. There's these little ceramic, porcelain, whatever, little curios about as big as your cup over there, and they're just so cute, and all they do is collect dust, and they're stupid. But old people collect crap like this,
right?
And all women we know. God damn.
What age women are we talking about here?
I'm going to say 14.
My daughter and I had Sydney. She's in town. She had surgery Friday. she wanted to be here in Jackson to recover. But we were talking about life expectancy. Do you know in 18, I think it was either 1885 or 1875. Do you know what the life expectancy was?
No idea.
In the United States of America, probably worldwide. It was under 30. It was like 28.
Where?
In the United States of America.
When is this?
And this was before the Industrial Revolution. Okay, late 1800s. It was like 20.
Well, that would be like the average life expectancy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, that's because all the kids were dying.
Infant mortality.
People,
right.
People would have eight kids, and
around
6 of them would
around
die.
1920. Okay, the average life expectancy in the United States of America was like, I think it was 32 years of age. And I think currently today it's, I don't know, upper 70s. I'm not sure exactly what age. But so when we're defining these old women,
right.
I mean, that's
the
moving
number. Has
number.
Changed.
The number has changed because, think about when you were in the 70s and you went to your grandmother's house. I mean, look.
Yeah, with the sticky rock candy that was all stuck to each other. So it was one giant.
And of course, their hairdo. And now, I mean, you look at
plastic on the
70-year-old women
furnitures.
and you're like, she's pretty damn hot, right? I mean, she does not look like a 60-year-old woman from the 70s, right? It was just it's apples and oranges. Or not even apples and oranges. It's like tennis shoes and, guns. I mean, it's two totally different things. Anyway.
Well,
we digress.
We digress. We're
back to your old woman.
Yeah, I mean we're running out of time here because we're not going to get to secrets are your friends. Writing if secrets are your friends. If you write a big check, don't tell your wife or else she'll get mad.
Unless it's for her.
Well,
I don't know.
I said a big check.
Yeah, I mean, because
flirting with their friends to keep them on their toes. I had a lot of tips, but we didn't get to
flirting with the friends to keep them on their toes.
We ran out of time. So anyway, take it for what it's worth. Take it for what you paid for it.
Well, I hope you and Bonnie have a wonderful anniversary coming up.
With a guy like me,
I'm
she
sure
not?
If you make a mistake, I will hear about it separately from you. On that